expansions can be a hit or miss. Some can expand the game by providing extra content for the player to enjoy, or simply create a lazy half-finished product for an easy cash grab. Luckily, SlimeRancher is in the minority that doesn't do such a tactic of running away with your money. Rather, their main focus is to provide a game that many can enjoy by making future expansions free, something that very few studios can offer. But free as it is it any good? With more expansions coming out in the future, do the current main 3 expansions, Ogden Retreat, Mochi Manor, and Viktor Experimental Workshop, still hold up since their release? Is it worth your time unlocking them? Let's see and find out in this review of the SlimeRancher expansion. Let's get ranching. Each of the expansions can be unlocked once you have completed a range exchange with the corresponding rancher. Now, for a while, I assumed that each rancher expansion can be unlocked by just completing the range exchange. Well, nope. Apparently, there are some steps you need to take before their teleporters are available to access. It seems appropriate to start with the first expansion to be introduced, Ogden's Retreat. Before you can access his teleporter, you first need to unlock the Overgrowth and Moss Blanket. Once you've done that and read his story mail, his teleporter will be now available for access. Ogden's Retreat is a fitting name because upon entering, you feel like you're in a tropical island full of palm trees and possibly sunburns. It becomes even more apparent after taking your first transport into another area known as the Wilds. Home to the expansion's exclusive slime, the Saber Slimes. Once long believed to be extinct, the Saber Slime lives on with their larval descendants that you can find throughout the island. These carnivorous creatures are hostile to the player, even so wanting to take a bite out of you. Despite this, these species of slime somehow have the ability into rounded rock-hard rolls. These sticky muddy balls rolls can only be cracked with a coca cracker that is scattered across the island. Upon cracking, coca fruit can be exchanged for resources and new unlockables for your garden. Eventually, after completing all the milestones, you can even own his retreat where you can store more of your slimes. Personally, I like Ogden's Retreat due to many things. It introduced to us more about the world's lore by presenting a Jurassic time period similar to Earth, or what the game calls it, the Jurassic period. The announcement of a new slime you can add to your ranch, new upgrades, and finally, importantly, a sample of what is to come for future expansions. However, there is a flaw that plagues not only Ogden's Retreat but also future expansions: repetition. Your task is to crack and collect coca fruit for exchange of tofu. You constantly have to go back and forth, exploring the area just to locate the fruit. You can easily speed up the growing process of the fruit by resting a day. I was able to collect 30 to 33 coca fruit in each run, so I have to run an estimate of 23 times to get the total milestone goal, which is 690 coca fruit in total. That is a lot of running around and collecting. Now, to be fair, I played the expansion after beating the main game. When Ogden's expansion came out, my main focus was to complete it. It may not be meant to be beaten in one sitting, rather something to do every once in a while maintaining your ranch. Because I had previously beaten the main game, maybe that is why I found it very repetitive. Regardless of that, it's still a fun expansion that introduced many elements that will be repeated for upcoming expansions. Up next is Mochi Manor. To activate her expansion, either the Indigo Quarry Slime Gate or the ancient ruins Indigo Quarry Gate must be unlocked and the grotto be purchased. A range exchange from her needs to be completed, read her star mail, and the teleporter will be ready for full access. Upon entering the teleporter, you will be greeted by the instrumental music with a change of Japanese scenery. In this new area called Nimble Valley is home to the super rare Quicksilver slime. These speedy slimes are able to run at great speeds while producing electrical plorts that Mochi needs. There are 2 race tracks, each leading to different tracks, a beginner's track and the advanced track. Each track has a switch. Upon pressing it, it causes not only the Quicksilvers to appear, but also a set timer that you can extend by running through the relay rings. Speaking of power-ups, there are power-ups scattered across the tracks, each having their own uses in order to extract the plorts from the slime. Thunderclap, Energy Booster, Spark Shot, Static Clinger, and lastly, my personal favorite, Slow Field. However useful each of the abilities are, it's all about how quick you can vacuum the plorts before it permanently disappears. When you manage to vacuum them up and the timer runs out, you can exchange the value resources for money and additional upgrades for your coop. Personally, Mochi Manor expansion is my least favorite out of the rest so far. I love the Japanese aesthetic, especially the music. One of the issues I had is how quickly the plorts disappear. Could be my lack of response time, but it seems the plort disappears quickly before I could vacuum them up. It is even more frustrating when there's a whole group of Quicksilvers bundled together. Another problem I had is that it felt very repetitive. While Ogden's Retreat does have the same problem, Mochi Manor is the worst so far. Mixed with how quickly the plorts disappear, it makes things very annoying. If I am lucky, my biggest haul is 66 plorts per track, and the total milestone tray to unlock all unlockables is 1300 plorts. So that means I have to return each track about 20 times in order to complete it. That's if I collect 66 plorts. Despite the flaw, I think it makes sense with the story of Mochi. She is all about work and proving that she is the best. Not wasting time and getting to the point when every second could be used for work. It becomes obvious she is a shrewd businesswoman and a workaholic. However, the further into the expansion, the layers of her character begins to show a little. Her dialogue changes to the point she is surprised by the amount of the player collects, and eventually revealing more of her past. Just like Japanese of today who works brutal hours, Mochi is no different. From a father who owns the company that many ranchers, including Beatrice, works for, Mochi has the pressure to work harder than anyone else and hopes to prove to her father she is not a burden. She is worth taking over the company, even better, her own destiny. Despite Mochi Manor being my least favorite, just her brief dialogue makes me sympathetic and understand. It pushes me forward to see not what new features I can unlock, but what sort of positive impact you make on her. And so far, it greatly affected her. Lastly, the most recent expansion is Viktor's experimental workshop, the more unique than the others due to the setting taking place indoors. To activate the expansion, the ancient ruins must be unlocked and the lab be purchased, and have the treasure cracker MK2 unlocked. Lastly, a range exchange trade must be completed with Viktor, and upon doing so, he will send a star mail and the teleporter will be active. Keep in mind, the trade must be done last. this latest update, you are responsible for exploring and capturing the elusive glitch slime within a digital world similar to the far range called Slimulation. These sneaky digitized slimes are capable of disguising themselves as normal objects. It is similar to the game mode Prop Hunt in Gmod, where props disguise as objects around the map and blend in with the environment. The hunters attempt to seek and kill them in order to win the game. The difference is, there is no killing, just collecting. There are two ways of revealing themselves: by vacuuming slimes that has a poker face, or using the debug spray that are scattered across the slimulation. Either way, it will cause a whole group of them to scatter across the area. By vacuuming them up, they will form into bug reports where you can exchange them for materials called manifold cube, which are handy to make specific gadgets. The glitch slimes don't need to eat nor turn into tar, but the slimulation has some danger to be aware of. After a certain amount of time, corrupt ribs will begin to form, spawning in digitalized tar or digitar. You can splash them with water how you normally do with regular tar, or using debug spray. However, more tar will continue to spawn, making it pointless in attempting to get rid of them all. Also, taking damage from them will cause you to lose the bug reports you have collected. It is either jumping into Slime Sea to end the slimulation but losing your bug reports in the process, or follow the beacon that leads to the proper exit where your progress is untagged. Viktor's Workshop expansion may be my favorite expansion so far. The reason is that it is really fun to do. I like the concept of hide and seek with the slimes. When you figure out what objects they blend, it's really satisfying. It does become predictable, sure, the more you do it, but the reward is pretty high. Secondly, it isn't as monotonous as the previous expansions. The total milestone traits are 1060. I was able to collect about 100 bug reports per run, so it would have taken me about 10 trips into the slimulation to unlock all the unlockables. That's about half the amount you would collect compared to the previous expansions. Lastly, there isn't a cooldown. In Ogden's Retreat, you need to wait for the fruit to regrow. In Mochi Manor, there is a timer you need to wait. While in the workshop, there is no waiting time. All you need is to pause your reports and then afterwards click the button. Then you're good to go. Now, to be fair, they likely added a cooldown with the previous expansions to prioritize your ranch. Also, you can speed the process by sleeping the day away and everything will be functional. But I find it odd that Viktor's Workshop doesn't have a cooldown. Might be to change it up a bit. Enjoyable the expansion is, there are a few flaws with it. The first flaw is there are little worlds available. There's only Dry Reef, Indigo Quarry, and Moss Blanket digital worlds to explore. I wish it included the Ancient Ruins and the Glass Desert. At least make it whereas the more you collect reports, the areas become unlockable like a video game within a video game. Not only do you have another reason to collect reports, but also keeps you motivated to collect just to see what these two areas look like digitized. Lastly, there isn't hardly any peril. Yes, there is accidentally jumping into the slime sea and being attacked by digitar, but mainly that there isn't any urgency to leave. As an experiment, I stayed in the slimulation for about, I would say, 10 minutes to see if anything would happen. Other than digitar wreaking havoc across the slimulation, the slimulation still became active. It would be more urgent. If the player doesn't leave within an amount of time, the slimulation shuts down from, let's say, overheating. Not only do you lose the reports you collected as a consequence, but also there is a cooldown you need to wait before activating the slimulation again. This way the player has a reason in following the beacon to the exit. Other than that, I found Viktor's Workshop hitting that sweet spot of not being too long or repetitive. I hope they repeat that in future expansions. In conclusion, the inclusion of adding expansions not only provides more player time, but brings new additions to the game, like slimes, gadgets, and areas. Even though new players will enjoy experiencing their first time playing all 3 expansions instead of having to wait like I did, it makes me sort of jealous. For free content, there isn't much complaining. More than anything, it makes me look forward to future content that Monomi Port comes up with. Maybe we'll get Bob's expansion. Who really knows? We just have to see and find out. Well, there you go, you guys. The total review of all 3 expansions. Boy, was this such a long video to make. What do you guys think? Is there some criticism you guys want to share of the expansion or this review? Please go ahead, write your thoughts down below. Like always, stay wiggly, everyone.